Hey, everybody, it's Joel and Ryan. We thought we'd start a new thing. We're doing a three-part series on a short-term rentals. And today we're going to focus on just kind of a quick intro, kind of tell you a little bit about us, see how it goes, see if it's something we can latch on to. But today we're talking about the kind of the good and bad of short-term rentals. So there's all types of stories out there. You'll hear these awesome success stories. Um, but we just want to make sure that we're bringing in some realistic points as well. So hey, Ryan, I'll hand it to you, buddy. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, man? Ryan Proffit, retired military, former power plant operator. I dabble in flipping, wholesaling, and STR operations. So glad to be here, man.
Yeah, short-term rentals and power plant operator. That's usually not something you hear a lot of in the same sentence.
No, we're
But
out there, man. We're out there, but there's not a whole
yeah,
bunch of us. So
yeah, awesome. Well, hey, I'm Joel Verinder. I'm down here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and I came from, or still am in, a healthcare IT space. So I've been doing short-term rentals now since 2020 in the Smokies. We have 7 up there in the Smokies. We've got one out here one out there in Gulf Shores, and we have another down in Dallas, Fort Worth. In the Mansfield area. So it's where I'm broadcasting from today. We moved into this little short-term rental just for this recording. Well, Ryan and I got to know each other. Man, I don't know. What was it? 2020, maybe?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I think we both came up through the short-term shop and got to know each other through those boards. But we've got very different backgrounds, but it's pretty awesome. I think how we've kind of gelled a bit in the short term. So we've got a lot of kind of no nonsense, approach to things. But Ryan, what markets are you in?
Yeah, I'm in Smokies. I had 3. I just actually sold one, so I have 2 there now, and then I have one in Gulf Shores as well, pretty close to yours. So
Yeah. And outside of short-term rentals, Ryan, I know you're in some other spots. What
yeah,
what
so
other things you doing with real estate?
yeah, I have a small multi-unit in Northwest Missouri where I'm from, and then that's primarily where I'm doing my flips and wholesales at. North of Kansas City, about an hour. It's not really a subsidiary of Kansas City. It's kind of its own little market, own piece of the world. About 10 minutes from the Kansas border.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it's pretty cool. We've got a different perspective, I think, than most because you were in the weeds. I think I saw the other day, like your favorite deals are ones with squatters, Uh,
Yeah,
you just want to be able to jump in. That's an opportunity for you right there.
absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, Ryan and I are also neighbors out in Gulf Shores. We built 2 houses, right? Our house is right next door to each other in a little subdivision there in Gulf Shores. So that's been a fun process. All right, so good. That intro is out of the way, but just wanted to kind of let you guys know who we are and kind of where we come from, to get a little bit of perspective. But we thought we'd spend a couple minutes here just kind of talking about jump right in, good and bad of short-term rentals. And as Ryan and I were kind of prepping for this a little bit for today, I think both of us were easier to come up with these stories. I think these horror stories that popped up. Because they're the ones that kind of like get tattooed in your brain. These are lessons. The good wins, I guess. Sometimes you forget those. Rhino, you've got a couple. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I got a couple good ones. I guess my first one would be a personnel issue. The most important things, building the team, getting your cleaners, and so we were watching our cameras, which a lot of people say not to do, but my wife said, "Hey, I noticed the cleaners went in at this time, and then I looked at the camera again when they left, and it was like 18 hours." And so I got to investigate, and I realized that they had stayed overnight at my place for 18 hours, and it wasn't planned. And they actually, parked their car clear down the hill so you couldn't see it on the camera, which makes no sense because it's a huge incline, in the mountains. So you wouldn't likely carry your stuff up on purpose. And when I called the cleaner, the actual owner of the company is the mother of the gal who stayed there, and she stayed there with her husband. And I called, and she answered the phone, and she said, "Oh, my mom's asleep," and she wouldn't let me talk to her. Said, "Is everything okay?" And come to find out, she told us that she had to run the self clean on the oven, and she fell asleep, and so did her husband for 18 hours, and they made a fire also. And the funniest part about it was, so I had to get another cleaner. I'm like, pack up all their stuff, get their stuff out of here. This is crazy. I was like, you can meet them with it. I'm not letting them back in my house. And over Thanksgiving, somebody had taken our mixer for like mashed potatoes, and the cleaner let us borrow hers. And I mixed it up with the blender. So I packed up our blender with her stuff, and I had her meet her with all her stuff. And she's texting me going, "Where's my mixer? And why did you give me your blender?" And I was like, "You can keep it." So anyway, that's one. And then another one was a couple months ago. It rains a lot there in the Smokies, but this was like a sideways rain, like Forrest Gump says. And actually we have a huge front window and an A-frame, and the water was pouring in the front window. And they were like, the guests were taking a video of it, like giggling like it was a water park. So it wasn't quite as fun for me, but you just got to make a call and get something going on that. You can't panic too bad. You just got to act on it. Those are just two. I have way more than that, but
yeah. So hey, for that first one, so I think that's a pretty common fear, right? Of like new investors. It's like, I know I don't know, how far is it to get to your cabins from where you live?
13, 14-hour drive.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth, and it's about a 13, 14-hour drive, just a different part of the country. And so that's a pretty common fear. It's like, well, hey, how do you handle it? If you have a cleaner that just goes to sleep and, has a party basically and starts a fire, and probably you don't want to know everything else. Yeah. How do you handle that from 14 hours away? So what was your kind of takeaway for that?
So I think something that's great that has prepared me for this is just my military background. We work on the flight line around aircraft. Sometimes you're on the ground around the aircraft, but then sometimes you're the guy that's up in the building on the radio directing the movements of the guys on the ground, and you don't always know what's going on. And I think you don't have to be there to I always call it, like one of my other good friends, Justin, he's a pilot, I always call it running the pre-flight checklist. If something goes wrong, you got an emergency checklist, pick the phone up, call somebody else, post on the boards, "Hey, I need somebody to go out and check this out for me." And just vet the person, if one of your friends has a cleaner that can check, go with them so you know them. Just send somebody out there, get boots on the ground as soon as possible, see if they tore your place up. And then just, instead of thinking of all 10 decisions you have to make, think of one at a time. And I think that's how you can act faster, and it'll keep you from panicking quite as bad.
Right. No, that's a great one. All right. So when you had all this water coming in, how did you address that?
So we just are like, oh my gosh, that's obviously never happened before. And we just, I think we sent a cleaner up there with extra towels, and then we just Instacarted them some towels. And then sometimes too, if we have to Instacart something like that, if there's a situation, we'll put something else in there for them that they like candy or something like that, if we know they're going to be there, so the bears don't get it. But that's how we do it. That's my wife's idea, actually. I didn't come up with the candy part, but that's my wife. So that's how we do it. And that stuff's all starting to stand up in the area, whereas maybe it wasn't there 3 years ago. More that's there, and more businesses to help people like that in emergencies. So just utilize all options.
So did you end up saving that reservation, or did they move on?
Yeah, no, they stayed. And there's actually another water issue, but I won't get into that, which was a freak accident too. My place isn't a piece of junk for everybody listening, but they stayed. They're like, "Oh no, that's fine. You sent the towels," and it was actually kind of funny for a little bit. And I was like, "Well, I'm glad you guys are laughing." So we just managed expectations, and they knew, they could tell that wasn't something we knew was going to happen, and there was really no way to avoid it,
Yeah, sure. Man, I think it's not when it's not if it'll happen, it's when it'll happen. I mean, just the volume of vacationers that we see come through all these places, stuff's going to happen, right? One thing that comes to mind for me is we had, just like most cabins up there in the Smokies, bears are a thing. These bears are super smart, right? I mean, they know where the trash cans are, right? Like they have this. I see them on the cameras from these our different cabins all the time. They're going, from one trash can to another trash can to another trash can just to kind of see, what they can find. I mean, they're known to get back in trucks, like in the back of trucks, if there's trash bags back there looking for food, or there are some that open doors. You've probably seen Instagram videos and Snapchat. There's bears opening doors to get to French fries or whatever. But we had, we all have bear-proof cans at all of our places. And we've got little structural videos or signs that would tell our guests, hey, make sure you put your trash in the can. These massive metal boxes, and so we had some guests that I guess they assigned their teenager to go and put the trash out in the trash. I don't know. We've got a couple teenagers at our house. You probably know where this is going. So the kid goes out to the trash can and it's probably half doesn't care, half whatever, and just like puts it on top of the metal box, right? And like he's in the trash can's on the other side of the house, so you really don't know unless you go and stare at it, where it's at. So he's in charge of trash for the whole trip of like 5 days, and so he just keeps piling it on top of this like metal box trash can, and then so probably day 3, I just get this note from them like, oh, we've had, a bit of a mess over here. A bear got into some trash can. Can you guys send, over some cleaners, or, do you have any extra trash bags, right? Or we can help pick it up. I'm like, what are they talking about? So, of course, then I go pull up my camera, and man, there is like this family of bears, and each one of them have like this big old thing of trash in their mouth, and they're just carrying it across the road. Like, what? How did that happen? There's no way they open that thing up. I mean, it's really heavy, and there's not like so we got it fixed and all this good stuff. And so I was asking him, like, what happened? He's like, well, we drilled our teenager a little bit more, and after about 10 minutes, he finally admitted that he was just putting them on top. I was like, oh my gosh, why do you think they're there? But it happens. It happens. But all right, well, so tell us some things that went right, Ryan. Like, what are some big things that short-term rentals have done for you?
Yeah, I think that cash flow. Equity and what that allows is, I'd say cash flow allows freedom of movement. I'm full-time real estate, so it helps me in part to, if the flipping and wholesaling slow, I can rely on that a little bit, and I can go where I want to go. I can take my laptop with me. We can work from wherever we're at. And then the equity, things have changed in the market, as well as I do, but we got in 2020, equity went up through the roof. I was able to do some cash out refinances, use my first cabin to buy more cabins, and just keep doing it and doing it. And so my money output is coming from the original investment I put into my first cabin. And I think that, it can't be underestimated. A lot of people I hear, Instagram videos saying short-term rental business is not real estate investing. Well, maybe if you're arbitraging, that's true. But if you own the property, it definitely is real estate investing, and it gives you power to do even more and hold many assets, if you do it smartly, of course, with your equity. So that's what it's done for me.
Yeah. So we started off over here with long-term rentals in Dallas, Fort Worth. And, initially when we got started, it was when our kids were really little. That was our college plan for the kiddos, is like, hey, we're going to just do one house, per kiddo, try to do 15, 20-year notes or whatever. And then by the time college comes around, they'll, have some money for college, right? That was the plan. And, we never really had visions of cash flow, just that it wasn't our goal at the time, right? For long terms, but as we got into it, then we were 15, 20 years down into these long-term rentals, and we started to look at it like, man, our return on equity on these things is horrible, right? Like, like we're, maybe getting $2,000 a month rent on these things with a 24,000 gross, right? And then in Texas, if it's not your primary home, you've got some serious property taxes to pay. So, like on a little home that's maybe, $250,000, right? And some of our examples, like our property taxes are close to $7,000 a year, right?
Oh, mercy.
And so simple math will tell you that's around 30% of your gross, right? Just on before anything else happens, right? So that was interesting, as we started to kind of figure out like, what else can we do here, right? This can't be the best idea. And so, I'm with you. It has given us some great opportunities I like your freedom of movement. And the way you phrase that, I think that's pretty clever. I think a lot of people get into it like freedom of time. They want to, kind of be in charge of be their own boss. Um, some days freedom of time seems like that's not going to happen. Even like with short-term rentals, like I'm up to 9, and I tell you, it's not a whole lot of freedom of time. There's still a lot of work,
Yep.
for sure. But no, I'm totally with you. I think for us, it's really given us an opportunity we still have long-term rentals. So, and I know you're still in other areas of real estate as well. And so, we're still, I think diversification is still, very important and key. But even in these times, right, where we've had slow, I think most of us in the Smokies and Gulf Shores have seen a little bit less gross than we did. We look at year over year, how we were last year. But that's not to say it does not cash flow. It's, of course, real estate's all about how you buy, but anyways, yeah, totally. Um, for me, when I look at, some success stories, I really think it's like we would not be where we are if it wasn't for, I guess, the people that we relied on or the teams that surrounded us, right, in these different markets. I mean, look, without a good cleaner and good maintenance, and some people, very important people to get you started, realtors and such, right? Like, I'm just hustle. That's all it is, right? Like, but I'm still 14 hours away, right? In Gulf Shores, we're still 10 hours away, right?
Yep.
So I think it's for us, it's all around. The reason why we have been successful is just these teams, and I don't always do the best at this, but I really try to provide a lot of value back to my teams. Um, you know, like for example, like our cleaners are amazing. They've I think we were one of their first clients when they started in 2020, and now they've grown their business, to well over 200 cabins in the Smokies. But I love opportunities, right, to talk business with them and talk optimization, and they're open, and it's we like to, even things like, hey, sending steaks, right, for a great summer, right, or Christmas, right, to say thank you to the owners, and of course bonuses to the actual cleaners themselves that do the work. But yeah, I agree. We didn't even talk about taxes, like just around the benefits of taxes, and that neither one of us are CPAs, but there's all types of things that you can do with cost segregation and having some additional funds in your pocket at the end of the tax season.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to call out there, Ryan?
Yeah, no, you mentioned, definitely bonus depreciation is a big tax savings. But as far as teams, something that I pride myself on is treating my teams well. But as far as building teams, I just feel like the way I go about it is the way I like to do it. When I'm in town, I like to meet up with these people, and I like to just show them that I'm a genuine person and just build a genuine relationship with them, especially like my handyman. I've done it in the Smokies since 2020. I've met my guy. I've given him tons of work. He's bailed me out of situations. And, and you've probably seen some of my stories, man. He's from El Salvador, and the guys he works with are from Honduras, Colombia. And I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but I try to speak some to them, and they like that. And I try to say it right, and then they're bringing jarritos. They're bringing me food that their wives make from their country. And we're sharing food together and eating lunch together. And we're just friends, and that's how I do it. I just go in there and I build a friendship. And then, you better bet, like, if I call them, they show up, because I count on them, and we're friends. We built that relationship. And I don't give their number out anymore. I don't like to, because it can keep them from helping me. And that's not really the main reason, though, is I've given their number out, and people will be like, oh, they weren't that responsive. And I'm like, hey, like, I can give you the contacts, but I can't build a relationship for you. You don't have the relationship that I have, and I can't promise they're going to get out there as fast as you need them to. But you got to respect the team. And when they do well, you have to tell them. And if the team does bad, you have to tell them that too,
Mm-hmm.
and you definitely can't be scared to do it. But yeah, teams is essential. You have to have it. And if it's not going well, you have to correct it, or you have to execute on changing your team. That's just.
I know I've reached out to you a couple of times. I had some things going on. I was like, man, are you okay if I call? I'm like, you don't have anything going on this week, right? Like, I'm not going to be stealing them from your project, right?
Sure. Not that I know of.
I know. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we're getting kind of towards the end of our segment here, but I wanted to. I mean, Ryan and I were talking about this, and I think one of the things that we wanted to do a little bit, I don't want to say differently, but we just wanted to have a focus on was kind of at the end here. We wanted to make sure that there were some clear takeaways. Kind of set a challenge for you guys, and so, I think, and I'll start with this first point, Ryan. I know when we talk about getting started, just being in the space since 2020, like, I don't feel like it's all that long, right? Like, I'm still constantly learning, and I know, like, Ryan and I are texting, and some of our other investor friends, like, I don't know, daily or weekly. It's like, hey, what do you think about this? Or how would you respond to that? I mean, we definitely don't have all the answers. I think what we've learned now is how to solve problems better, or at least I have anyways, like, from so far away. And then how to hold people accountable, how to check in, that type of thing. But, I think one thing I'd like to challenge you guys as, if you want to get started, and you really want to get going on this journey for short-term rentals, you've got to find others that are like-minded, right? It's really hard to go at it just by yourself. Trying to figure out, some accountability partners. So if you have some steps that you want to take, if you want to figure out what market you want to go in, if you want to figure out is short-term rentals your thing, is long-term rentals, multifamily, whatever it may be. But really surround yourself with like-minded folks. So that could be Facebook groups, right? That can be, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different forums, I guess, where you can connect. But the best way to do that is by adding value, right? By offering to add value to somebody else. And I mean, that's always the best response that I've gotten, is if I can help others, right? Then that's a great, like, first step, right? And building that relationship, and kind of getting somebody on your journey as you move forward. So I guess the challenge here is to find your group. Make your investing world a little smaller, your circle smaller, right? By finding those who are on your same path, folks you can bounce ideas off of, and folks you can add value to. Ryan, you got one?
Yeah, man. So you kind of like what you're saying, build the brain trust, get with the group, find people who are doing what you're doing. And I always like to say, I didn't make it up, but what is it like? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And, build the group and find the people that you trust, and not even on partners, but just the collective group that can help you. But even if you're ever going to partner on something, this is what I always tell people. I'm like, I'm looking for good people, just a couple good people. I don't even care if they have knowledge. I can teach them. I need integrity. I need to know their hearts. Build a group with people like that. You don't need people with a bunch of knowledge. You need good people. But yeah, just go out there and just figure out why you want to do this. Don't, oh, I want to make money. I want to cash big checks like some of these fancy boys on the internet are always posting, like, okay, is that what you want? You want to have big checks. Why do you want to have big checks? Like, I always tell people this, like, to me, sometimes like talking about money just gets boring. It just tastes like dirt after a while. Like, what are you going to do with it? Who are you going to help? How far are you going to go? How are you going to help other people go far? I actually refer to money as freedom points now because I just get tired of talking about money. That's what I'd say is focus on why. And if you get to where you're trying to go, what are you going to do when you get there? And why do you want to be there? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think once you ask the why and you can answer the why question, then it really starts to look into like, hey, maybe there's a lot of different ways to get there, right? Like just say that your example, your why is you want to build another source of retirement long term, right? Cash flow would be nice, but that's not your primary driver at the moment, right? Well, so once you've kind of determined that, there's a lot of different ways you can go, right? Then that allows you to kind of go into short-term rentals, perhaps with a property manager, right? With somebody that's going to really handle the day-to-day activities. Well, maybe that means more multifamily or long-term rentals could be kind of in your where you want to go, right? Both are awesome things, but they have different goals, right? And so I think once you understand that why and really what's driving it. I mean, the why for me was cash flow, right? I had been going through a couple of different healthcare IT jobs through COVID, and it just became unstable, and so we wanted to take a little bit more hold of our situation, and so for us, cash flow was the big driver, and we had some equity built up, right, for some long-term rentals. And so we were able to jump in and kind of shift our equity, right, from one investment type to another that gave us a lot more cash flow. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, right? But there are always these things that come with it, right? And so short-term rentals, with just say 9 short-term investments, right, does give good cash flow, but it also takes a lot of time, right? Like that's a lot of reservations, right? You've got a lot of people coming in, right? Like, I just was doing some end of year reporting, and I think between our places, we average somewhere around like a 73% occupancy, right? And just why I'm saying that is because you start to do the numbers on how many guests does that mean coming through your properties like every month, right? Times 9, right? Like that's a lot, right? Especially when these places average, anywhere between 3 to 4 nights, right, a stay, and so there's just a lot of people coming in and out, and it's just a lot of things. And of course, you can automate, do a lot of things to cut down on that, but it still takes your time, and it's going to interrupt that dinner, it's going to interrupt that volleyball tournament, that type of thing. So it just depends what your goals are. Well, Ryan, you got anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just kind of regarding what you said is there's different avenues, and what I would say is try to find something you're passionate about, and if you're not passionate about any of it, that's when you hand it over to a property manager, have somebody just look over your money and your property for you. But if you have passion towards a certain area, if it's local or whatever, apartments, single family houses, or if you like just handling stuff from afar, running the mission, short-term rentals, like you said, you can automate it, but just remember in the end, you're always going to be the one holding the line whenever anybody else lets you down. So yeah, just get after it's all I'd say, and focus and choose your mission and pick a direction and go for it.
Yeah. So this is our first of 3. So Ryan and I are going to do 3 of these. So hopefully they're enjoyable. Our next 2, we're really going to focus on the next one. We're going to be talking about pricing. So we're going to walk through kind of how we approach pricing. I think there are a lot of different approaches. We're going to go through some pricing strategies, some things that works for us. Some of these are very specific to the Smokies and to the beach, right? And so they have very different ones. So if you want to hear our thoughts on pricing and kind of maybe some real world scenarios of how we've knocked it out of the park or how we got embarrassed, I don't know. I'm sure we have good examples for both. I know I do. Feel free to tune in for our next segment. But thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us, and everybody for spending your time. We appreciate you guys. And until next time, see you guys later.
All right, man. See you.